Ladies, let's get real for a moment. We all know the importance of freshening up after a good shower, right? But here's the thing. There are spots we often forget to clean, and they can be the source of all sorts of unwanted smells. I'm talking about the places we think are covered by our hair or tucked away under layers of clothing, like the back of our neck and behind our ears. These areas are sneaky, and if they're not properly cleaned, they can become breeding grounds for bacteria and cause that dreaded old person smell we've all heard about. Let me tell you a little story. A few months ago, I had the most mortifying experience. I was at a family gathering, feeling all good, dressed up, and ready to enjoy some time with my loved ones. My granddaughter, bless her, ran over to give me a hug. You know the kind where they wrap their arms around your neck and squeeze? Well, she did that. But as she pulled away, she scrunched up her face just slightly. Not enough to be rude, but enough for me to notice. She looked at me and said, "Grandma, your neck smells funny." I swear, I nearly dropped my drink. I smiled and brushed it off, but inside I was in complete shock. I excused myself, headed straight to the bathroom, and took a long look in the mirror. My blouse was clean, my makeup was on point, but when I touched the back of my neck and behind my ears, I felt something sticky. I hadn't even noticed it. So I did what any woman would do in this day and age. I Googled it. Turns out there's real science behind this. As we get older, our skin produces a fatty acid called tuna. Not the fish, but a type of fatty substance. It clings to areas where oil and sweat glands are most active. And guess where these glands are? Yep, behind our ears and at the nape of our neck. As we age, those sebaceous glands become a little more active. Combine that with natural oils from hair products, perfume residue, and the sweat we don't always notice, and voila, you've got a perfect storm for that sour smell. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I wash my face. I use a toner, or maybe even a wipe or two. And that's great, but let me ask you this. When was the last time you really gave the back of your neck and behind your ears a good scrub? I'm not talking about a quick rinse. I'm talking about a solid, gentle scrubbing session with a warm washcloth, some mild soap, and a bit of extra attention. These areas can easily get overlooked, but they can trap moisture, oil, and dead skin, which leads to that smell we all want to avoid. Here's what I started doing. After every shower, I make sure to scrub the back of my neck and behind my ears with a warm cloth. I use a mild soap, nothing too harsh, and give those spots a good circular scrub. Trust me, this simple step can make all the difference. And if you've got long hair like me, or if you wear scarves, shawls, or wigs, that area can get even more susceptible to trapping moisture and bacteria. So, keep a little reminder on your mirror to, don't forget the back. It'll take you an extra minute, but the freshness is worth it. And here's the funny thing. Ever since I started paying attention to those areas, not only do I feel fresher, but I smell fresher too. And funny enough, my granddaughter hasn't wrinkled her nose since. So, if you've been neglecting this spot, trust me, it's time to show your neck and behind your ears some love. A little scrub goes a long way, and you'll notice the difference in how you feel. No more worrying about what people might smell when they lean in for a hug. All right, now that we've covered the neck and behind the ears, let's talk about something that's, well, a little more personal, under the breasts and the folds of our skin. I know, this isn't exactly glamorous, but ladies, it's important. As we get older, gravity has a way of changing things. The girls, as they say, don't sit as high as they used to. and that can create some tricky spots to keep fresh. The area under your breasts, especially if you're a little fuller, can trap moisture and sweat throughout the day. And trust me, when that happens, it's not pretty. I'll be honest, this one wasn't something I paid much attention to until one summer afternoon. I was out running errands, feeling hot and sticky from the humidity. When I got home and slipped out of my blouse, I noticed something that made me stop dead in my tracks. There was an odd smell. It wasn't strong, but it was there, and it made me a little self-conscious. As I looked closer, I realized what was going on. Moisture had gotten trapped under my breasts. The skin folds were holding onto sweat and moisture, and with all that, well, bacteria was starting to grow. Suddenly, it made sense. Doctors call this intertrigo, which is a fancy term for skin irritation and odor caused by the friction of skin-on-skin contact in areas like under the breasts. It's especially common in older women, but don't think you're exempt if you're on the petite side. Even smaller busts can develop this issue, especially in hot climates. And here's the kicker. We don't always feel it. If you're wearing a bra all day or bundled up in layers, you might not even notice the dampness building up under there. But trust me, it's there. So, what can we do about it? Well, I'll tell you what I've been doing, and it's made a world of difference. First, when I'm in the shower, I make a point of lifting and washing under my breasts with a soft washcloth and some unscented soap. I pay extra attention to drying thoroughly after because moisture is the enemy here. And by thoroughly, I mean don't rush it. After drying, I pat the area with a bit of cornstarch or a natural powder. This helps keep things dry and prevents that moisture from turning into a breeding ground for bacteria. On really humid days, I even tuck a clean cotton pad or a small folded tissue underneath, just for extra absorbency. It's an old trick I learned from my ballroom dancing days. And let me tell you, it works. I've shared this with a few friends of mine, and you wouldn't believe how many said, "Oh, my stars, I thought it was just me." But no, sweetheart, it's not just you. This is a common issue, and it doesn't make you unhygienic. It just means you've got to stay one step ahead, especially as we age. And trust me, there's nothing more uncomfortable than a damp blouse sticking to you. Or worse, that sour smell creeping up on you. Nobody wants that. So here's the deal. If you're noticing some moisture or irritation in this area, don't wait for it to get worse. It's easy to take care of. Just be proactive. Give those folds a little extra heat. Love in the shower, dry thoroughly, and keep them fresh with a bit of powder. It doesn't take much, but it'll make you feel fresher, more confident, and most importantly, comfortable. And remember, the next time you feel that little bit of moisture creeping under there, don't ignore it. Show yourself some TLC. You'll be amazed at how simple steps can make a world of difference. All right, ladies, let's shift gears for a moment. I know we've been talking about some personal areas of our bodies, but here's one that many of us overlook all the time: the inside of our shoes. Now hear me out. Your shoes, especially the ones you wear day in and day out, can actually be contributing to unwanted smells. And I'm not just talking about a little bit of odor from a sweaty workout. I'm talking about something that can sneak up on you and linger. Something that no amount of perfume or body spray can cover up. The culprit? Sweat. Let's get real. Our feet are some of the sweatiest parts of our bodies. And if you've been wearing the same pair of shoes every day without cleaning them properly, they can turn into a little petri dish for bacteria. I know, it sounds gross, but it's true. Each foot has over 250,000 sweat glands. That's a whole lot of sweat. When that sweat seeps into your insoles, it doesn't just disappear. It stays there, dries, and mixes with dead skin cells. Eventually, your shoes can start smelling like they've been through a swamp, even if all you did was take a quick stroll. To the post office, I'll share a little story with you. A while back, I started noticing a weird odor in my shoes. It wasn't strong at first, but it got to a point where I'd walk into a room and suddenly, there it was. This faint, musty smell that I couldn't quite shake. At first, I thought maybe it was just my imagination, but no, it wasn't. It was my shoes. They'd absorbed all that sweat and moisture, and I hadn't been taking proper care of them, so I turned to my podiatrist for some advice, and what she told me changed everything. She took one look at my favorite orthopedic Mary Janes and said, "These are the problem." I was mortified, but she wasn't being judgmental. She was educating me. See, shoes can trap moisture and bacteria, especially if you don't give them proper care. And with age, our feet become more prone to fungal infections and other issues. It's a part of getting older, but it doesn't mean we can't do something about it. Now here's what I started doing to fix the situation. First off, I started sprinkling baking soda inside my shoes every night. I'd leave a spoonful in each one, let it sit overnight, and then dump it out in the morning. It absorbs moisture and neutralizes odors like magic. Another game changer, washing or replacing insoles regularly. I know a lot of people don't realize this, but insoles can be washed. Just pull them out, soak them in warm soapy water and air dry them. It's a simple step, but it works wonders. But here's the kicker. Don't wear the same pair of shoes every day. I know we all have that favorite pair of flats or sneakers that we wear to death, but rotating your shoes gives each pair a chance to breathe. I keep at least 2 pairs on rotation, and if I'm really in a pinch, I'll give them a day to air out. If you can, leave them in a sunny spot for a few hours to help dry them out. And if you've got leather shoes, like me, there's an extra trick I learned. Activated charcoal inserts. You can find them online or at most pharmacies, and they work like a charm to absorb odors and moisture. Just pop them in when you're not wearing your shoes, and they'll keep everything fresh. It's a small investment for a big difference in how your shoes and your feet smell. Ladies, I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than bending down at the supermarket to pick up a jar of pasta sauce and getting hit with a wave of unpleasant odor from your own shoes. I don't care how cute your outfit is or how fabulous your purse looks. If your shoes are stinky, it's going to be noticed. Keep your feet and shoes fresh, and you'll walk with confidence, knowing that the only thing people will notice is your style, not a mystery scent. Okay, ladies, we've covered a lot of ground today, but now we're about to tackle 2 areas that might seem a little less obvious, but are just as important when it comes to keeping yourself fresh. These are the places that can quietly trap odors and bacteria sneaking up on you when you least expect it. So let's dive in. First, we're heading to the closet, and then we'll talk about those often forgotten spaces between your toes. Your closet, the silent culprit. Now your closet might seem like the safest space in your home. It's where you keep your beautiful clothes, your favorite shoes, and your most cherished accessories. But here's the truth. Your closet might be harboring more than just your favorite outfits. In fact, it could be one of the biggest offenders when it comes to trapping smells and moisture. I know it sounds like something you'd never expect. After all, we're talking about a place that's meant to keep your clothes safe and organized. But here's the catch. Closets are dark, warm, and closed off. If you don't open those doors regularly to let some fresh air in, moisture builds up, dust accumulates, and all of that gets absorbed by your clothes, shoes, and other fabrics. Even clean clothes can end up with a musty, slightly sour smell after sitting in a stuffy closet for a while. And the worst part, you might not even notice it. especially if you wear them often. Your nose gets used to it. This is exactly why it's important to regularly refresh your closet. I've learned that it's not just about hanging up clothes and shutting the door. It's about giving that space a chance to breathe. Here's what I do. Open the doors at least once every few days and let some air circulate. If you can, add a moisture absorber. I like using things like Damprid or activated charcoal packets that I place in the corners. These little helpers do wonders to keep moisture in check and prevent that musty smell from sneaking in. Also, don't forget to wipe down your shelves and vacuum the floors inside your closet about once a month. You'd be surprised how much lint and dust gather in there. If you live in a humid climate, it's even more important to stay on top of this. I also have a rule. If something hasn't been worn in over a year, whether it's a coat, a blouse, or a pair of shoes, it's time to part ways with it. We all have that one item in the back of our closet that we hold on to because of sentimental value, or because we're waiting for the right occasion. But here's the thing. If it smells old, it will make you smell old. So, go ahead. Freshen up your closet, donate what you don't wear, and make sure that your wardrobe doesn't contribute to any unwanted odors. Between your toes, a hidden hot spot for odor okay. Here's the part that might feel a little awkward, but trust me, it's just as important as everything else we've talked about. The spaces between your toes. How often do we actually wash between our toes when we shower? Be honest, most of us focus on the tops of our feet and leave those little gaps between our toes to fend for themselves. And it's those gaps, ladies, that can become a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and odor. When you get older, your skin thins and circulation slows down, which means your feet are more prone to things like fungal infections, especially athlete's foot. And let me tell you, if you've ever dealt with the smell of athlete's foot, you'll know it's not something you want to ignore. The smell can range from sour to cheesy, and it will follow you wherever you go. Now, I'm sure many of you grew up with the simple rule, wash your feet. But how many of us were told to wash between our toes? Not enough, right? The truth is, those little crevices between your toes are a perfect place for moisture to get trapped, especially if you're wearing socks or shoes all day. And once moisture mixes with the bacteria on your skin, it starts to stink. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I've had my own experience with this. A friend of mine, Doris, started noticing a strange smell in her living room one day. She blamed it on the carpet, then the dog, and even her husband, poor guy. But it wasn't any of those things. The source of the odor was right under her nose, her feet, specifically between the 4th and 5th toes. There it was, a perfect storm of dampness, bacteria, and odor. And once she realized it was coming from her feet, she couldn't believe how much better things smelled once she took action. So, here's my tip. Every single time I shower, I make sure I wash between my toes with a soft washcloth and a bit of gentle soap. I pay extra attention to those little spaces. After I rinse off, I dry between my toes with a separate clean towel, making sure it's as dry as possible. And on days when it's especially humid, I'll sprinkle a little foot, powder, or even dab a bit of tea tree oil between my toes. Tea tree oil is natural, smells fresh, and works as an antibacterial agent. I also make sure to wear breathable socks, and I never put my shoes on without making sure my feet are dry. It may seem like a small thing, but let me tell you, the difference it makes is huge. If you don't take care of those tiny spaces, you could be walking around carrying a hidden odor with you that only gets worse throughout the day. You can be freshly showered from head to toe, but if you neglect those little gaps, it will show in the worst way. Well, ladies, there you have it. We've covered the forgotten spots where odors and bacteria like to hide. Behind your ears, under your breasts, inside your shoes, your beloved recliner, your closet, and between your toes. It's not always glamorous, but it's essential if we want to stay feeling fresh and confident. The truth is, you don't have to accept old person smell just because you're getting older. Aging is a privilege, but smelling like you've been left behind, that's optional. With a little extra attention to these small areas, you'll be surprised at how fresh you can feel and how much more confident you'll be. Remember, it's all about creating small, simple habits, the kind of daily rituals that don't take a lot of time, but make a huge difference in how you feel and how you smell. These little details will not only help you stay fresh, but they'll also give you a sense of control over how you experience aging. If you've learned something new today, I'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to the Savvy Senior channel. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts, questions, or your own tips for staying fresh. I'm always here to help. And if you want more advice like this, sign up for my Savvy Senior newsletter. It's full of tips and tricks to keep you feeling your best, no matter your age. It's free, fabulous, and packed with wisdom you won't find anywhere else. So here's to aging like fine wine, not forgotten cheese. Stay radiant, stay fresh, and never forget, you're too classy to be musty. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, keep shining.